Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shruti Jaikar, and I'm a research assistant at the Institute of Chinese Studies. On behalf of the Institute, I welcome you all to today's edition of ICS Wednesday seminar. The topic under discussion is Xi Jinping administration's foreign policy on the Ukraine war and the Taiwan Straits. Chinese foreign policy making process remains quite obscure for scholars and observers, something that can be felt more keenly at this time of domestic political shifts and global upheavals. In this context, this talk will highlight four important factors that have shaped China's policy on Ukraine. These include the upcoming 20th Party Congress, US-China competition, Sino-Russian relations, and the emergence of the global South led by China. We have a distinguished speaker joining us today who, apart from discussing the four factors, will also speak about the role of middle powers like Japan and India in the changing world order. Professor Kawashima Shin is a professor in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, the University of Tokyo. His main areas of interest are Chinese, Taiwanese diplomatic history, and contemporary international relations in East Asia. Links to his recent articles can be found in the chat box below. Joining us as chair is Professor Hemant Adlakha, who's Professor of Chinese at Jawaharlal Nehru University and Honorary Fellow at ICS. A very warm welcome to both of you. Before I hand over to the chair, I'd like to remind the audience of the housekeeping rules. Kindly stay muted during the presentations. Questions can be posted in the chat box anytime during the presentation or using the raise hand option during the Q&A session. Please unmute yourself only when called upon by the chair to do so. I now invite the chair to take over. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shruti. I welcome you all to this very interesting and exciting event where we have Professor Shinkawashima to talk to us about Xi Jinping regime's foreign policy in general and on war in Ukraine and Taiwan, recent Taiwan crisis or issue in particular. I do not wish to add anything to what Shruti has already introduced about the event and about Professor Kawashima, except that I wish to say Professor Kawashima is as comfortable to talk to us about China's internal political dynamics as he is with the foreign policy of the Chinese government and Xi regime. And we have shared two very latest articles by him in the chat box. One appeared on the internal dynamics and in the context of Xi Jinping's third term, if it happens, at the 20th Congress later in October this year, which appeared in the Diplomat yesterday. And the other article is in Think China, which is published from Singapore, where he has a regular page and column on China and China's foreign policy, etc. And I also hope Professor Kawashima, since he is with us, he will give us the benefit of learning from him about the nitty-gritty of the run-up to the 20th Party Congress of the CPC and tell us about especially the article he wrote, I think in April this year in the Diplomat, in which he pointed out that even if Xi Jinping is awarded the third term by the CPC, it may not be easy, smooth transition for him unless there is an amendment made in the Article 6 of the Constitution, which says that no leader can be reappointed prior to the Party Congress position awarded to him or her, unless there is a change in that amendment for that second appointment in the same position. So I think he suggests that if Xi Jinping were to continue for the third term, he may not be able to continue as the General Secretary of the party. He may have to change the nomenclature and perhaps declare himself as the chairman of the CPC. So I think we will also be very keenly expecting from Professor Kawashima to educate us on that aspect as well. So with these words, I request Professor Shinkawashima, and I must say that I'm very grateful to him to accept our invitation at a very short notice. And it's a great privilege for us to listen to him today. So Professor Kawashima, floor is yours. You may please speak for at least 35 minutes or maybe 40 minutes. I leave that to you. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chairperson Professor Adaka. It's my great honor to be here discuss about Chinese diplomacy, foreign policy with you. Yeah, it's my honor. Thank you so much. I'll share my PPT. Yes, the chairperson said today's my topic is Xi Jinping administration's foreign policy on the Ukraine war and the Taiwan Straits, and also other some Sino-Japanese relations. And yes, actually, my specialization is not the contemporary China, but the history. My specialization is the Chinese diplomatic history. This is my life work. Yeah, every day I read about the Chinese diplomatic archive. Yeah, this is the diplomatic archive document on the yes, late Qing and the Ming era. Yeah, so my doctoral dissertation and my book are also the relating about the diplomatic history. So if you are interested in such a Chinese diplomatic archives, manuscript archives, please ask some question. I can answer where you can get the such a material and how do you interpret these materials. So, but today this topic is yes, so contemporary Xi Jinping's administration foreign policy. Yes, right. Yes. If we consider about the Chinese policy towards the Ukraine war, I think the four factors are so important. The first is about the Chinese domestic policy, domestic politics. Second is about the Sino-US relations, because from Chinese point of view, US is the most important foreign country. And Sino-US relations is the most important bilateral relation for China. Thirdly, Sino-Russian relations, because Russia is the highest ranked country of Chinese partnership now. Fourthly, global South and emerging powers. From Chinese point of view, China leads the so-called global South, developing countries and emerging power to be against advanced countries led by USA. This is Chinese image of the confrontation. Second part is about the Chinese policy on Taiwan issue. In East Asia, including Japan, Taiwan issue is the hottest, most crucial problem now. Yeah, Taiwan is the symbol of the some liberal democracy and human rights and so on. And Taiwan's technology is so high. Do you know the company named TSMC? TSMC can produce so high spec semiconductor parts, like a 5 nano, 3 nano, and others. And also Taiwan is the hottest point of the geopolitical confrontation between USA and China. So Taiwan is one of the most hottest point in East Asia or in the world. And also Ms. Pelosi visits Taiwan, and China made big military exercises around Taiwan, and did some cyber attack and so on, or grade of penetration and so on. So it's a good big topic. But today I'll talk about the Chinese basic policy toward Taiwan. Yeah, and through the basic policy, we can consider about the Chinese response toward the Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Third part, I add a little bit about the Chinese-Japanese relations. Yeah, actually, this year is the 50 years anniversary of the normalization of Japan and China. Japan and China made a normalization in September 29th of the in 1972. So this year is so important for Japan and US and China. So we talk about these three topics. Okay. So I start talk about the four factors on the Chinese policy toward Ukraine war. First point is domestic politics in China. As you know, this year CCP will hold the 20th Party Congress. Yesterday, Chinese Communist Party announced that the October 16th is the signing day. Actually, it's a little earlier than 10 years ago. Yeah. So the Xi Jinping prepared some list of the personnel, the members of the top 7, the top 9. Xi Jinping, write down some list of the policies toward the old leaders, or retired leaders at the Beidaihe conference this month. Maybe such as Jiang Zemin is sick, with other Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao or Xu Rongji and other members basically accepted Xi Jinping's design, plan, I think. So this year, so anyway, because of this Party Congress, Chinese domestic politics is so sensitive, because Xi Jinping changed the so-called personnel matters from the Jiang Zemin to Hu Jintao period. Chinese CCP government designed the system of personnel matters. So in a Xi Jinping, Hu Jintao and the Jiang Zemin period, such a top level CCP leaders can prospect the next position of them. But Xi Jinping advanced the anti-corruption movement and cut off so many persons. So the point is not such a personal system. The point was not personal system. Point is just some loyalty towards Xi Jinping. So there's so high level tension in China now. So the Xi Jinping himself, he cannot deny or cannot change his own policy, and he cannot fail any policies today this year. So the all foreign policy this year have to provide adequate and modest conditions for Congress, Wang Yi said. So Xi Jinping administration cannot change and deny its previous policies. For example, Xi Jinping met with Putin on February 4th, and he said Xi Jinping strengthened the strong ties with Russia, Putin. This is also the basic condition. He cannot change it. And also China originally had the independent and autonomous policy, 独立自主 in Chinese, in 1980s. So China does not have any ally. So Russia is not an ally. This is the basic policy. So Russia invaded Ukraine, yes, but Russia is not Chinese ally. This is the point. Thirdly, China originally has 5 principles for peace in 1950s by Zhou Enlai. China cannot accept violation of its national sovereignty, even by Russia toward Ukraine. And also Xi Jinping cannot file anything in this year. So China, Xi Jinping cannot play as a mediator on the Ukraine war. So China is so deliberate on the problem. This is the first condition, first factor with this is Chinese domestic policy. Second is Sino-US relations. As you know, in 2017, Xi Jinping said China realized its Chinese great dream of revival, 伟大的中华文化复兴 in Chinese, until 2049. That is 100 years anniversary of PLC's foundation. Because PLC was founded in 1949. This policy on the dream mean that China becomes a more stronger and greater power than USA until 2049. So this statement said that China will release Taiwan until 2049. Okay. And China forecasts the load of competition with USA until 2049. So the basic road to the 2049, the confrontation or competition with the USA. This is Chinese point of view. US-China rivalry is the main framework of China, and this rivalry is not Russian-China versus US and allies. So USA and some Japanese media, Western media, strengthen that there is a big confrontation between China and Russia and advanced countries. Such an explanation China cannot accept it. And in 2017, Xi Jinping also said until 2049, the new international relations, 新型国际关系 in Chinese, led by China, will realize until 2049. So in this, the new international relations imagined by China or designed by China, is important, but imagined rivalries in this concept is China, global south, and the emerging power led by China versus US and developed countries, advanced countries. So from Chinese point of view, China is the leader of the global south and the emerging countries. So the other side is USA and other advanced countries, including Japan and European countries. Okay. And also China support, and China, Xi Jinping said that China supports UN, United Nations Charter, and the Chinese style of international law. However, but China rejects US security network, including Sino-Japanese ally, and also Western values, including liberal democracy, and so on. So from Chinese point of view, basic road of the rivalry until 2049 in the Sino-US, and also the imagined a framework of the confrontation is between not Russia and China, China and the emerging country plus global south versus US and advanced countries. This is Chinese images. And also China, under the Ukraine war, China takes so importance of this US-China relations, and they really Xi Jinping really wants to meet with Biden. And when the China-US top meeting was held in March 18th, China strengthened the importance of US-China relations. He said, the two leaders also agreed on the importance of maintaining open lines of communication to manage the competition between our two countries. So both countries recognize we have competition. Yeah, but we will win in this competition. This is USA and both USA and China imagines. And also Chinese side required Washington DC, the Biden administration, to keep the so-called one China policy on Taiwan. Yeah, US side continues saying USA does not change any principle on the Taiwan. This is USA's announcement, but China cannot reject it. China criticized USA. USA changed its one China policy or policy on Taiwan. This is one topic between the US and China. Third factor is Sino-Russia relations. Yes, as I said, Russia is the most highest ranked country of the Xi Jinping's or China's partnership. Actually, Chinese partnership has levels. So if you, I don't know how many words India has, but if you check the partnership, the name of the partnership between Russia and China, you can find there are so many words before the partnership is known. Before this partnership, there are so many, yes, words. This is the symbol. This is the symbol of the importance for China. Okay. So you check some layers of the levels of the Chinese partnership. Yes, the most highest partnership country of China is Russia and Pakistan. Yeah, these the two countries are the most highest ranked partnership country with China. Japan is located at the much more lowest level. Yeah, before the partnership, only one word, very simple wording. Yeah, some Russian relations. Xi Jinping met with Putin on February 4th, as I said, when the Winter Olympic at Beijing was held. Putin joined the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympic. Actually, Russia, its country, cannot join the Olympic itself. Russia joins the Olympic as ROC, not Russia. A Russian Olympic committee, maybe Russian Olympic Committee. And that's the meeting joined it. But Putin joined the ceremony. And at that meeting, Xi Jinping agreed on the policy Xi Jinping agreed on Putin policy toward the European security issue. And also Xi Jinping is against NATO's expansion for the East. Yeah. So Putin and Xi Jinping shared such images, such attitude towards NATO. This is the point. Xi Jinping, as I said, Xi Jinping and the administration is against USA's allies, USA's security networks, including Japan, US ally, and NATO, and others. So Chinese policy is clear. So this is the same point between Russia and China. However, on February 25th, on this year, Xi Jinping meet with Putin by telephone. Xi Jinping says that China decides about the Ukraine war. China decides its own Chinese standpoint, attitude toward the war by itself, based on characteristics of the Ukraine problem. So Xi Jinping does not declare to support Russia's activity in Ukraine clearly. Yeah, so Chinese attitude, China is independent. China is a little far from Russia. China is not supporting Russia so clearly. However, 3 days later, Russian embassy to China in Beijing announced as their homepage that at the meeting, Xi Jinping said Xi Jinping respects Russia's or Putin's decision or anything, all the things under this crisis. The crisis means the Ukraine war. So Russian embassy said Xi Jinping supports Russia's activity toward Ukraine. But Xi Jinping said, or Chinese side, Chinese government website says, no, China will decide by itself on the Ukraine war. Because after the end of the February, the China and Russia's expression is different. It is interesting. So it is a little bit clear to find some discordance between Russia and China on the announcement level. On the March, I don't know, the National Assembly, the General Assembly of the United Nations, when US and other countries proposed the Russia's matter toward the Ukraine war, South Korea, Syria, and some Belarus and other some 5 countries rejected USA's proposal, but China, India also were abstained. So Chinese stance is different from Russia. Chinese stance is different from other South Korea and Belarus and other countries. So this behavior also shows that China is different from Russia, from Chinese point of view. But the Western country recognize China is stand at the same position as Russia. But on June and July, China gradually adjusts its policy. For example, on July, at the SCO meeting, Wang Yi meet with Lavrov. So at such a prime minister meeting between Russia and China, both foreign minister meeting, both foreign ministers did not mention the Ukraine war. And also at the foreign minister meeting of G20 at Indonesia on also July, yes, Wang Yi says both Russia and Ukraine are China's friend. Yeah, Wang Yi does not say China will support Russia. Both China, Ukraine, and Russia is friends of China. Yeah, so China's strength and China is not same as Russia, so that United States perception of confrontation of two camps, advanced countries, developed country versus tyrannical countries of Russia and China. So in Japan also, so the image is so clear: Russia and China same camp, and this side, and the other side is U.S. and advanced country. So clear, but China said no. Then what China insists on? Global South emerging powers. China's perception, previous world order by the advanced countries is old-fashioned. This previous world order cannot improve, cannot solve any international problems now. So China's new international order is more active and effective to reflect global South and emerging power interests. This is Chinese point of view, Chinese perception. So Wang Yi, his activity is so active this year, and on May to April, Wang Yi was Anhui province near Shanghai. He met with so many foreign ministers of Southeast Asian countries like Philippines, Thailand, Myanmar, and Indonesia. But it's not all of ASEAN countries, 4 countries. Which 4? Yes, Philippines, Thailand, Myanmar, and Indonesia. These 4 countries vote for USA as the General Assembly's proposal by USA. So China checks, this country supports USA. So China invited foreign minister to Anhui province and meet with Wang Yi, and Wang Yi said China can provide so many aids and support to your country. Yeah, and also, Wang Yi doesn't say clearly, but this is a pressure toward these countries. And also on May, Wang Yi met with the Cambodian Vice Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, said this time is Asian time. And also Asia can provide a good example of cooperation on a regional or global governance. So this time is the Asian time. And also Asian countries have one characteristics, Asian, that is independent or autonomy toward USA or advanced countries. Asian country have to be the independent of USA? I don't know what China said. This is a pressure toward Cambodia because of the vote or the Assembly of United Nations on March, Cambodia supports USA. So China checked which country vote for USA. And also China provides some pressure to these countries. That's China's way. And also the multiple meetings at the SCO, G20, ASEAN, the BRICS, and the China plus 5 Central Asian countries, and the China plus 10 Pacific island countries. China says China can provide the medical support, energy support, and the digital economy, and also request these countries to be independent or autonomy. That means you will be against USA. Yeah, this is so interesting. However, I explained about Chinese perception or Chinese activities. However, that's so big difficulties. There are so big difficulty for China now. For example, public opinion of each countries. This is the Pew Research data from the 2002 to this year. You can find the green is the most highest negative number. The blue means the most lowest, so the most positive toward China. Green is the most negative toward China. US, Canada, Netherlands, Germany, and then so many countries. Yeah, this shows the most negative perception toward China this year. The lowest numbers are concentrated to the 15 or 70 years ago. So China is now facing with a big problem, negative images of world countries, including ASEAN. I know India also maybe. But yeah, if you can check Japan is not. Japan is exceptional. I don't know. Japanese most negative number is registered in 2013. 93% was negative in 2013. So two negative. So there is any changes of perception of Japanese or China before and after the Ukraine war, before and after COVID-19, two negative. And also Sri Lanka's problem, there's such a debt trap and others. There's big problem. And also China's military expansion also influenced on the other countries' attitude toward China. Chinese economic power is so strong. So most of the countries in the world, for most of the countries in the world, China is the first, second, third trade partner. From Japanese point of view, China is the most largest trade partner. So it is so difficult it is a big point for Japan. Japan has some military security problem with China, territory problem with China. However, China is the most important trade partner. Korea also, Taiwan also. So countries around China, especially in the East Asian countries, share same problem. We have territory issues, security issues with China. However, China is the most important economic or trade partner. And also, recently, so-called economic statecraft or so-called economic security problem is emerging. So recently we divided security and economy. We divided such a security, territory issues, and the economy. However, recently the economy and security is now combined. So it's so difficult for us, for Japan and South Korea and other countries, to keep the so-called divide economy and security issues. So this is the yellow light is some confrontation of the territory between China and other countries. There's so many yellow marks, between China and India. And also this is the Senkaku Island, and in the South China Sea, there's so many yellow lights. And also recently, China, under COVID-19, China's PLA's activities in the South China Sea, East China Sea is getting more active, and also Chinese Coast Guard, Haijin, the activity is also getting more active and active surrounding Senkaku Island and other areas. Yeah, and after the Ukraine war, Japan is stand at the USA side. So Russia criticized Japan so strongly. So recently, this chart, China and the Russians Navy or aircraft, Air Force cooperate, join to make some activity, military activity around China. This chart, movement of Chinese Russian naval fleets, they are joint activity, they are joint exercise surrounding Japan as a big new threat for us. Now that Japan has 3 big threats. The first is Russia, second is China, third is North Korea. It's a big problem. So Japanese government plans to increase their security military budget next year. Yeah, this is a part of Ukraine, Chinese policy about the Ukraine war. Go ahead to the Taiwan part. Chinese policy on the Taiwan issue. Some Western media said until 2027, China will release Taiwan by force, or China has enough force to release Taiwan. So on. That's right. The Ministry of Defense of Taiwan said until 2025, PLC will have enough power, enough force to release Taiwan. However, Taiwanese specialists or Taiwanese Ministry of Defense says, yes, China will have enough power to release Taiwan, but China does not use the force, military power to release Taiwan. Yeah. Then China will do what? Something. This is a chart of the Tsai Ing-wen's supporting rate in this 5 or 6 years. Tsai Ing-wen is so popular politicians in Taiwan. However, if you see this chart, the power line is positive, green is negative. Okay. So the December 2018, sorry. Pearl is positive, blue is negative. Positive or affirmative number at the bottom on the December 2018. However, after that, January 2019, the situation was changed drastically. And after the January 2019, the supporting rate changed. The positive trend is increased so much. Why? January 2019, Xi Jinping's statement says it's possible for PLC to use force, military power to release Taiwan or unify Taiwan. Xi Jinping mentioned military power, not by peace, not just by force. It's possible, he said. It is so stimulating statement toward Taiwan people. So Taiwan people will support Tsai Ing-wen because Tsai Ing-wen is a conservative politician in Taiwan. So the people in Taiwan support Tsai Ing-wen. And after that, the Hong Kong policy, PLC president of Hong Kong was getting more and more aggressive. So the Taiwanese checks see the situation in Hong Kong. Taiwan people, wow, they cannot accept the PLC's way. So they changed the support Tsai Ing-wen. And the end of the 2019, the COVID-19 was started. So in 2019, the Tsai Ing-wen supporting rate was increasing so much. Yeah. And also the China also made the economic statecraft. China stopped the import of the Taiwanese pineapple. But we can consider one point. China only can make some economic statecraft policy on Taiwan pineapple. Pineapple only. Because the PLC China's industry, especially about the semiconductor industry, rely on Taiwan's high-spec parts of semiconductor. So PLC also really worry about Taiwanese counter economic statecraft on the semiconductor industry toward PLC. So it's the ROC Taiwan's advantage. Taiwan has a so strong semiconductor technologies, so it's the counter power toward PLC. So PLC can only pineapple or fish or some first industries economic statecraft. And in 2021, China defined DPP. This is the political party. This Tsai Ing-wen's. DPP is the party to seek independence. So China, said that after that, any organization which approach to the DPP is anti-China, including Pelosi, including Prime Minister Abe, and others, LDP Japan. So Pelosi was criticized so strongly. Chairperson of the Congress of the USA visited Taiwan in 1996, but China cannot accept this time because the leading party is different. And last year, China said DPP is the party to seek independence. After that, any organization which approaches the DPP or Tsai Ing-wen, our enemy, this is anti-China. This is the Chinese change is a little with the policy. What is the policy for Taiwan of China? It's clear. Yes, firstly, as I said, China enhance its military level enough to release Taiwan. Missile system and the capability to attack Taiwan from eastern coast, two ways, missiles and landing from the eastern coast of Taiwan. In the Ministry of Foreign Defense of Taiwan also said that until 2025, China will have enough power to release Taiwan by force. That's right. However, China does not use the military power directly, but China shows its military power enough to liberate Taiwan by force, and also China shows the power to Taiwan people. Yes, we have enough power to release you, this Taiwan. It's a big, strong suppression. Okay, and also through the cyber attack and the fake news and the other ways of so-called gray zone attack, China intends to form Taiwan's public opinion to give it up to be independent or autonomous and decide to unify PLC. This is the pressure. This is like the Putin policy towards Crimea Peninsula several years ago. And through the economic statecraft, China provides strong pressure to Taiwan's economic study. This is China's basic policy now. Taiwanese also understand. And under the Ukraine war, Taiwanese people understand the USA will not come to Taiwan Strait when China attack Taiwan by force, because USA does not join the war between Russia and Ukraine, because Ukraine is not ally of USA. Taiwan is not ally of USA, so it's impossible. So the rate of Taiwanese perception on the USA will come to Taiwan Strait, when China attacked Taiwan by force, decreasing 30% before and after the Ukraine war. Now that Taiwanese do not believe in the USA's support when China attacked Taiwan now as a disaster for USA. So Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, yes, that's a big incident, actually. But Pelosi's activity in Taiwan is not talking about the military, talking about the security issues. She only respects the Taiwan's democracy, LGBT issues, and human rights, and technology led by TSMC, semiconductor and others. So she visited some museums of human rights and so on. Yeah. However, China does not accept such a behavior. Everything is not good. Everything is not good, bad. So China announced China's sanction toward Taiwan and the USA, and China criticized Japan and USA. So China recognized Japan and USA as a supporter of Tsai Ing-wen. Yeah, this is Chinese perception. So China made their military exercise. China attacked China uses missile attack on the sea, including the EEZ of Japanese. So it is some alarm from China to Japan. And also cyber attack over China fake news. There's so many fake news then. But it's interesting. Ministry of Defense of Taiwan shows what news is fake news from China. They shows clearly to the citizens. And also this picture is interesting. This picture is a 7-Eleven, the supermarket. China hacked the system of the supermarket. And this vision shows the Pelosi, inspires a war between Taiwan and China. So you have to leave Taiwan now for USA. This view system was hacked by China. This is supermarket system in Taiwan. So I like to say that Taiwan's PLC's activities, PLC's response to PLC's visit is basically, decided by the usual PLC policy toward Taiwan. Show the military power enough to release you. Secondly, the gray zone attack, cyber attack, fake news, and so on. So after Pelosi left Taiwan for USA, Taiwan increasing the level of the usual pressure toward Taiwan. So they include the level of some military exercises and also fake news and the cyber attacks level up. So the activities was found, and also after this incident, China used this opportunity to change the status quo. For example, the central line over the Taiwan Strait, before Pelosi, China does not go beyond the central line, middle line. However, after the Pelosi's visit, China go beyond the central line of the Taiwan Strait. Yeah, maybe China continue to entering go beyond the central line. So China use this chance to status quo, change status quo. So maybe Indian scholars you also understand why Pelosi visit Taiwan, because Chinese pressure toward Taiwan is getting more stronger and stronger. However, China said, Pelosi, you visit Taiwan, stimulate me. So we have right to change. China has the right to change the status quo. It is up to you, up to USA. This is China's way. It is the same as the Senkaku Diaoyu Island on Japan's case. Finally, I mentioned the Chinese-Japanese relations. Japanese government actually improves the policy toward China from the 2014 by Abe administration. maybe Taniguchi-san, Tomoko-san also understand this. And also Japan and both countries expected Xi Jinping's visit to Japan in 2020. But because of COVID-19, Xi Jinping cannot come to Japan. However, anyway, as I said, Japan and China had a big problem. We have the tension and security and territorial issues, but China is the most important economic and trade partner. And also economic statecraft and economic security, there's new pressure from USA and China both. So we have to redesign new relations between China and Japan, but it's so difficult. And the US-China rivalry and the Ukraine war influenced China-Japan relations was more worse. Yeah, it's much more difficult to arrange it, including military tension around Taiwan and East China Sea, and economy security issues is emerging, as I said, and the value problem, including the democracy and some other human rights in Hong Kong and Uyghur and so on, and Taiwan issue. So it is more, the situation is more difficult for us to keep good relations with China. But for geopolitical point of view, China is a neighbor country of Japan. We have, and also too big, too strong. So we have to keep, how do we keep the good relations? This is our big task. And also the domestic policy is so crucial. In Japan, 90% Japanese do not like China. However, more than 60% Japanese recognize Sino-Japanese relations is important. It is important for Japan because of the economy. So how does the Japanese administration, Kishida administration, deal with China issues? 90% Japanese people do not like China, but Sino-Japanese relations is important on the economy. How deal with it is a big problem. So after the Pelosi's visit, at that time, the Wang Yi criticized Japan so strongly as the South Asian countries at the ASEAN meeting. But anyway, after the Pelosi's meeting, Japan and China started improvement of the relationship, at least superficially. This is Mr. Akiba-san. Akiba is the director of the Japanese NSS, National Security Secretaries. And Yang Jiechi, they met at the Tianjin city and talk about the normalization or the improvement of Sino-Japanese relations. So they basically has consensus to do something at the anniversary of the 50 years anniversary of Sino-Japanese normalization on September 29th. So, but it is only superficially, and also the so sensitive party congress will be held in October. So it is so I think a sensitive term is continuing now. So it is so difficult for us to prospect the trend, also the situation, or the forecast of the Sino-Japanese relations. Anyway, I provide some information. Today, I talk about the, Xi Jinping's administration's foreign policy and the Ukraine war for the 4 factors, and the Chinese policy toward Taiwan. Most of the scholars and some newspapers said, the media said, China will attack Taiwan until 2027. I think no. China has a basic policy and also policies after Pelosi visit. China did policy or military exercises toward Taiwan, basically according as the previous policy toward Taiwan, but the level is different. It's a little bit higher. And thirdly, I mentioned about Chinese-Japanese relation a little bit. If you have a question about Chinese-Japanese relation, I will talk much more details. So anyway, thank you so much. I called your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kawashima. That was a very comprehensive, and I think you covered wide-ranging issues in just 35 to 40 minutes. And you've given us a lot to think about.
It's so long, so sorry.
Yeah, and we will now go into our final segment of the event today in the question answer session. But before we go into the question answer session, I will use my privilege as or prerogative as the chair of the session and ask you maybe two questions, and then we can go to the question answer session. My first question to you is that you have mentioned, particularly in your talk, that economic and security, they have become combined in today's narrative and discourse. But I was surprised that you did not mention at all, either when you were talking about the Ukraine war or when you were talking about the Pelosi's visit to Taiwan and the tension between the US and China. You did not mention, for example, phrases like Indo-Pacific. You did not mention Quad. You did not mention. You did mention about rising popularity of the current Taiwanese president Tsing-Wan, but you did not give any clear indication as to whether the Taiwan independence has that taken backseat after or before the Pelosi visit in the Taiwanese narrative because of Chinese pressure or whatever. Because suddenly nobody is talking about Taiwan independence, especially after the Pelosi visit also. Is it because of the pressure from mainland China? That is one question. And my second question is more specific to, you mentioned that today 90% people in Japan don't like China. And if you look at the similar survey in China, the position has changed. I mean, there are now less number of Chinese who do not like Japan compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And what do you think is the reason that why more and more Japanese people are now disliking China? Is it because Japan is more and more becoming economically dependent on China, or because of China becoming militarily more and more powerful? So there is a threat to Japan. Please answer two questions of mine, and then
thank you so much. Very, very exciting and interesting question. First of all, first question about Taiwan. Actually, Pelosi's visit is not influential about the Taiwan situation, whether the independence or not. That's nothing for Taiwanese, actually. Because the for Taiwanese point of view, there are some 2 or 3 kinds of independence. First of all, the independence from PRC to be a Taiwan Republic. The secondly, at present, Taiwan is independent. So Taiwan has constitution, Taiwan has force, Taiwan has police and so on. So it's basically independent. Because, however, ROC is not recognized as the independent country by the more than 180 countries, but basically autonomous or the independent. Second, 2 kinds. So most of people in Taiwan are not agreeing on a unification with PRC. So there are 2 kinds of Taiwanese. Some Taiwanese seek to be Taiwan Republic. The other side is, it's okay, status quo. So if PRC's attack, PRC does not attack Taiwan by force, maybe 90% Taiwanese wants to be Taiwan Republic. However, under Taiwan PRC pressures, many Taiwanese change to be its attitude to be status quo. So the public poll says more than 70% Taiwanese like status quo. So in this context, Pelosi's visit is influential to the status quo? Nothing. Or the PRC's military pressure is getting more stronger. is, yes, this situation is a little bit risk bad for the status quo, but basically same. This is Taiwanese perception, I think, at present. Secondly, about Japan, yes, it's a big problem. 90% Japanese do not like China. Yes, and also more than 60% Japanese recognize Sino-Japanese relations is important for Japan. As you said, Chinese situation a little bit different, especially after the 2013. After the 2013, Chinese perception towards Japan was changed a little bit, and the positive is getting more, yes, larger and larger. In 2020, around the 40% Chinese had a positive image of Japan. I think because of their real experiences in Japan by sightseeing. So many Chinese tourists came to Japan to enjoy Japanese cultures and Japanese food and so on. And also they scattered this information by the SNS, Chinese SNS. So on the internet, there are so many good positive news, positive messages about Chinese tourists in Japan. And this is one reason. However, last year, 2021, the situation was changed drastically because the tourists could not come here to Japan, and under the COVID-19, some discourses internet was getting to be more conservative or nationalistic. So many Chinese citizens criticized Japan. This atmosphere influenced on Chinese government's attitude toward Japan. For example, Sony announced Sony will sell the new product on July 7th. They announced on June 30. Chinese people criticized it. July 7th is the anniversary of the day that Japan attacked Chinese army at the Marco Polo Bridge in 1937. And also the Chinese judicial court decided the Chinese Sony has to pay so much money, some million of 1 million, 2 million of Chinese renminbi. Yeah, it's a new situation last year. So the situation was changed. However, I mentioned one point. Yes, in Japan, more than 90, maybe around 90% Japanese do not like China. But if you check the generation, and from the 18 to 92, 18 to 29, the younger generation, 40% Japanese, younger Japanese, have positive toward China. It is a new situation. So last year, the cabinet poll investigation. So the China actually expects the younger generation of Japan now. So I don't know when they grew up to the 50 or 60, their procedure will change or not. Then why Japanese younger people have a positive image of China? First reason is they do not know the Japan as number one this period. They really do not know the Japanese economic power was larger than China. So their point of view, China is originally advanced and a developed country. So they really support China. This is one reason. Second is after the 1990s, in this 20 or 30 years, Japanese society has been internationalized. So they have so many Chinese friends or Korean friends. So they do not answer, I do not like China. So I like China, or nothing. I am both positive and negative. So the situation was different. So there's so many big gap between the elder generation, the younger generation in Japan, especially for such an image perception about China. Also, some gender issues and so many social issues. There are so big yes, gap between the younger and the elder generation in Japan now. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. We will now move to the question and answer session, and I will request Shruti to perhaps help us read out the questions from the chat box. I think we have
Yes.
quite a few questions there. And while questions are being read out or answered by Professor Kawashima, I will request the participants, if you have questions which you have thought of right now, you can raise hand and ask your question directly. Otherwise, we'll continue with the chat box questions. So Shruti, please.
Yes, sir. So the first question that we have is from Mr. Sudeep Kumar. He asks, what would be the probable agenda of the online meeting between Chinese PM Xi Jinping and Japanese PM Kishida next month to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the normalization of bilateral ties? Sir, shall I go on, or do you want to take one at a time? Sir, you're muted.
So I answer now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's a big problem. Actually, we really do not know whether the Kishida and Xi Jinping will be make some online meeting or not. It's a little bit crucial. First of all, 90% Japanese are negative toward China, and also the Taiwan issues and other issues. Taiwan PLC's missile attack toward our Japanese EZ after the PLC's visit to Taiwan. This is so stimulating to the Japanese society. So if Kishida really dare to meet with Xi Jinping by online, it is possible for Kishida to be criticized pro-China. Pro-China is is not so good phrase for the politician in Japan. So Kishida and Hayashi is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, are really worried about to be recognized as pro-Japan, pro-China. So I think Kishida is a little bit deliberate. However, as you know, on September 27th, Prime Minister Abe's national funeral will be held. Maybe one of the top leaders of China will join the national funeral, I think. So he or she can meet with Prime Minister Kishida, I think. Yeah, and or he or she can join some ceremony of the 50 years anniversary of Chinese-Japanese normalization on September 29, because the national funeral will be held on September 27. So this is a little sensitive, some agenda setting now. So, and also if the Taiwanese top leader like Lai Ching-te, he is the number 2 of Tsai Ing-wen administration. If he will join the national funeral, Chinese top leader cannot come to join national funeral. So there's so many uncertain factors. So if Japan invited Taiwan's number 2, it's a big problem for PRC. Xi Jinping cannot meet with Kishida. So there are so many uncertain factors. So it is not so clear. Suitably, sorry, I cannot say clearly whether Kishida can meet with Xi Jinping or not. But if the Xi Jinping Kishida realizes to make a meeting with Xi Jinping, Kishida only can say, thank you so much. It is a good day for the 50 years anniversary, and we can cooperate with China on economy only. Yeah, really. I think Kishida will be so deliberate to express something. Otherwise, he'll be criticized for China. It's a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Kelkar, you may ask a question.
Thank you. The Professor your talk has been very, very illuminating and very kind of forthright in explanation many things. I have a question regarding the gender relations and regressive policy, if I can say, on women in China, gradually regressive. And there have been protests from women and youth in China on this subject. Do you think it is likely to be taken in the October 16th meeting, or it has the impact, any impact on the foreign policy in China? Because certainly now, women's movement is not a kind of a small issue, it is a bigger issue, that to what extent you can be seen as progressive. And
you said the Chinese woman issue, is this including a human rights problem?
that's right, human rights and also regressive policy. That's what I'm saying. That women are being asked to go back and produce children, and I mean, so on and so forth.
In a domestic policy or a foreign policy?
In domestic policy, which has related to foreign policy also. So what?
Yeah,
is
okay.
So my question is twofold. Why this is being taken up? I mean that it was initially the policy right from the beginning has been to liberate women to outside work. And and now that is reversed. And second is, what is its relation with the foreign policy? Both are related.
Thank you so much. It's a crucial question. For example, in a inner part of China, there is some families love son, not daughter. Yeah, and also the women's rights in a rural society or small town, yeah, was so limited. Yeah, so the human rights problem is so crucial in China, especially in a land in a part of China. This is first. Secondly, however, Chinese government says China really realize some average and balance between on a gender. They say. So the for example, the the organization of the women by the Chinese Communist Party, they strengthen the Chinese active Chinese government policy on the solve the gender gap and so on. It's so difficult for us to get the right information in the problem. Certainly, especially in the Uyghur, Xinjiang, and Tibet, there's a big problem, human rights issues there, and also the females in the Tibet and the Uyghur were also, yes, has a big pressure, more than male. So the problem is much more larger in such a Tibet or Uyghur and other, area than the Han people areas, I think. And foreign policy is a big problem. China, for example, the Human Rights Committee at the United Nations, they only provide some official data written by the Chinese government, Chinese authority. So China expresses China solves so many issues about the gender and something. So it's so difficult for us to approach the real situation. Firstly, recently they changed its policy about children, right? So but younger people cannot decide their attitude towards the children. They only have one child. Yeah, it's a big problem. So China wants to control the population until now, still now. So we can talk such a big problem as the Human Rights Committee of UN and other areas, but it will be difficult for us to approach to the real number, real situation in China.
Thank you very much. I wanted to say that it is not only human rights issue, it is a pure economic right
Yeah,
also.
that's right. That's right.
Don't have a whole population being in the productive
Yeah.
engagement, then probably it
That's right.
affects the economy also.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Sir, shall I read out the next question?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, Professor Shin, you mentioned that international law with Chinese characteristics in one of your slides. I want to ask, what would that look like? In other words, what is the Chinese vision of international law that you mentioned?
Thank you so much. I also have my PPT. I asked China styled international law. So, for example, the maritime law, China's interpretation of the UNCLOS is so specific. It's so different from us. So China has China's own interpretation of all of laws, international laws. So at first, actually in Japan, we have a series of joint studies with China on the international law. We have to understand what's the interpretation by China on the UNCLOS or other international law. Otherwise, it's difficult for us to make a negotiation with China. So this is first. Secondly, in the domestic society, China society, not ruled by law. Rule of law. This is ruled by law. So the Chinese concept of the law is different from us. Not the rule of law. It's ruled by law. So as their interpretation, your understanding of the domestic law is relating to their understanding of international law, I think. So at first, we have to I would like to understand the Chinese concept, Chinese interpretation about international law, including UNCLOS. UNCLOS is so crucial for Indo-Pacific or Quad. Yes, shared by us. Thank you.
So the third question is related to your last comment itself. This is a question from Colonel Virendra Sahay, who asks about your view on China-India relations and the role of Quad in balancing.
So the question in chat.
No? Colonel Sahay asks about your views on India-China relations and the role of Quad in balancing.
Okay. Hey, India's situation, you understand, I don't like so clear about the Indian situation, but I explain a Chinese point of view on India-China relations. Maybe on some issues of the border issues between China and India, India recognized so negatively, so China's negatively, but China actually is not. As I said, China recognized China is the leader of the developing country and the emerging country, including India. So China still seeks to keep good relations with India. Yeah, China, yeah, China understand the India's scope, negative scope toward China. However, from China's point of view, China has to express China is the leader of the emerging country or the global south. So on this point of view, India is so important. So China do not express China-India, relationship between China and India is not good. So Wang Yi visited India and yes, invite India's representative to some meeting. So China is eager to express China and relationship China and India is not so bad. Yeah, so it's a good chance for India, I think. India can say because China is now compelled to express the relationship between China with India is so modest. Is my answer. Thank you.
Sir, would you like to respond to the second part of the role of Quad in this question only?
The part is a
The
balancing
role of Quad.
international
Yes, yes.
between India and China.
I'm not sure, but that's what it asks.
Oh, so the generally speaking, as I said, the balancing law is for Chinese point of view, the law itself is, for example, when China recognizes the law, international law is better for China. China will talk about the law. However, on each issues, China changed its attitude in interpretation on the law. Change it. For example, when China faced with the problems in the East China Sea, China strengthened the one explanation of the continental shelf. This theory to strengthen China's right. However, in South China Sea, China does not strengthen the continental shelf. China only says of the history only. So the China uses a interpretation or definition or theory of international law so flexibly. So the law itself, is so important, but from China's point of view, ruled by law. So China uses law. China uses changes explanation. China adjusts explanation of the law to utilize the law to solve the problem under the advantage of China on this issue, I think. So it is so difficult for us to share such a common device, a common concept with China. It is very difficult. So it is the first task for us to understand their explanation, their interpretation of the laws or international laws, I think.
Thank you, sir. So the next question that we have is from Shirshava Indu. They ask, what is Japan's position on China conducting military drills around Taiwan Strait and Japan's claimed exclusive economic zone? Foreign Minister spokesperson of China has said that Japan's EEZ territory is under dispute and there is no proper demarcation and agreement between the two sides.
Yeah. So Japan also criticized it. Yeah, but China said, oh, Japan and PRC China does not decide the range of EEZ. So China does not recognize that the area is belonging to Japan EEZ. This is the answer of the spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China. That's right. And about the Taiwan issues is a big point. Yes. If PRC China really attack Taiwan by force, Japan can join the war? Impossible. Japan can send our Navy, self-defense Navy or self-defense Army. If USA join the war or join the Taiwan Strait some conflict, Japan can send the self-defense Army and Navy to support USA. It is impossible for Japan to send the Japanese self-defense Army and Navy to support Taiwan's troop. It's impossible. Yeah, and also Japan can send our self-defense Navy and Army to rescue Japanese in Taiwan. It's possible. So Japan has so many laws and also the Article 9 of the Constitution. So Japanese activities toward the Taiwan's serious situation is so limited. It's not so free. Secondly, as I said, PRC's policy toward Taiwan is not so directly. PRC does some gray zone attack every day at present. So it is possible for Japan to cooperate with Taiwan to be against such a gray zone penetration from China, like fake news, cyber attack, and so on. Japan is also everyday attacked by China. So on this point of view, we can share the information or intelligences or make cooperation. And also the about the values, liberal democracy or freedom, and so on. We can share, Taiwan is also democratic country, so we can cooperate on the value or the younger people exchange and so on to keep our values to be against Chinese penetration. So this is my answer. Thank you.
Okay. So we have one last question.
Okay,
from,
so Shruti, do we? Okay, okay.
So shall I go ahead with the question?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, please.
This is a question from Captain Kiran Khanpuje. How significantly has China's policy changed consequent AUKUS and Quad?
Firstly, China is against U.S. centers or U.S. leading some security network, including Quad, AUKUS, and others, including U.S.-Japan allied and so on. So recently, China criticized AUKUS and Quad, 小圈子 in Chinese. This meaning a small circle, security circle. And secondly, such a small circle, including Quad and AUKUS and others, are so efficient to provide pressure toward China. If all IP free and Indian, free and open Indian Pacific a little vague, but Quad, AUKUS, and as a so-called small circle, the purpose is so clear, and also there are some diversity or layers. So from China's point of view, there are so many diverse small framework surrounding China. There's a big pressure. So Chinese perception, China is now facing with so many small circles. Is a big pressure. Thirdly, however, a Quad, AUKUS, and other small circle, their real activity. What is their real activities? This is China's point. China pays strong attention to the real activities, real meanings of these small circles. So if we have to realize the purpose of the Quad and others, we have to show so many activities toward China. Finally, recently, in this 2 or 3 weeks, China's attitude is changed. Yang Jiechi also met with Mr. Akiba of Japanese National Security Secretariat, and China is now approaching to the Western Europe countries because the level of competition between the US and China is now enhancing. So China is approaching to the allies of USA, including Japan and Western Europe. So in this month, the situation is changed. And also, I guess at the Beitaihe conference, Beitaihe meeting, and on this August, some retired leaders probably criticized Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang's policy on economy. So the Xi Jinping and the Kershan advance to the economic policy or improve the economic situation in China after the Party Congress. So on this point of view, developed country, advanced country, including Japan and the other countries, including India, are so important for Chinese economic growth, economic situation. So it is possible for China in this year to adjust its foreign policy to be more modest because of economic improvement, economy. This is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shinkawashima. Although I wanted to ask you more questions, but since we have run out of time, I hope we will have you back with us in a couple of months or few months to talk more about China's internal politics, especially Xi Jinping's third term.
Yes.
But as we sign off, can you just in one line tell us, after October 20th Congress, will it be Chairman Xi Jinping or General Secretary Xi Jinping?
Yeah, it's difficult, but it is a little difficult for Xi Jinping to be a president. Yeah, I think he extend his term to third period, I think, now.
Okay.
I also, the diplomat paper, I pointed out some regulation of CCP, but it is maybe it's easy for him to change the regulation, I think. So, yeah, I think now. But I don't know, this is I don't know the situation, the situation.
Okay, thank you so much. And we will definitely have you back in a few months' time. And I thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thank you, Professor Shinkawashima, and participants. It was really a great honor to listen to you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you so much. It's a great honor.